Morning and welcome to this segment where we usually have a guest. Now, every day gives you an opportunity to start life. So it is a new day, and at such a time, all opportunities of the day are your way. Now, your mindset, your determination, how you conduct yourself will determine it all at the end of the day. If you're going to be an achiever, you're going to be a loser. So what is important as you start this morning, ensure you have a positive mindset and believe that you have the capacity to attain what you're meant to attain this day. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, today I want to look at the employment sector, where the Federation of Uganda Employers has come up for the 12th time to have the Employer of the Year awards. One of the sectors that was greatly hit, that is our economy, where many people could no longer sustain the people they were paying to do the work which they were earning from as well. So many employers, some had to lay off, some had to close completely, others work with that is minimum number of personnel at their office. But now these awards are coming in, that is 2021, 2022, because 2019 due to COVID we couldn't have such awards, and they're on the theme that is employer resilience during and beyond COVID-19 crisis. And with me in studios this morning is the team leader of the survey in these awards, Mr. Kakoma, that is Julius. You're most welcome to our studios.
Robert, thank you very much. Maybe let me just make a small correction in the
Kikoma.
Chikoma. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, Kikoma, you're one of the people that are going to carry out the survey, but let's just have a small peek into the actual intention of this. Yes, the theme spells it out that you're looking at employer resilience during COVID-19 and after. These are annual awards, except, like I said earlier, the intervention of COVID around 2019. But what are your aims of coming up with such awards?
Okay. Thank you very much. And as you mentioned, the Employer of the Year awards have, in this country, they have a long tradition. They have been here with us since 2000. And it was an initiative by the Federation of Uganda Employers, which is actually the voice of all employers, small, big, young, old. And the intention was about two or threefold. One, to try and investigate the human resource practices, or what now they call people management practices, as well as the wider business practices, so that the best practices can be recognized. Those employers that are practicing good practices can be recognized. But at the same time, the others who are not best employers but have been participants and non-participants would also learn from those best practices that have been found in the best employers. So initially it was focusing mainly on the established organizations, large organizations with structures and every resources to ensure that they have good management practices and policies. But over the years, the Federation of Uganda and the other players for this award realized that this should not be a big boys club. And in any case, the makeup of this economy is really made up of mainly small, medium, and now what we call micro enterprises. So it was expanded to include the small players as well, ideally, so that we can learn more, but also in doing that, help improve the practices, especially as they affect the employees. While these awards are employer focused, meaning the award goes to the employer, but the intention is to ensure that the employer is doing the right thing in how they are handling people. It is not just about getting awarded because you are making the best profits. It's not just for not-for-profit organizations. It's for all employers, because we think good people management practices are not only good for business, but they're actually good for the welfare of whoever works in these organizations. So that was the intention.
When you talk about it's not only a big boys club, let's understand we have employers range in this country.
Yeah.
You can have a multi-giant company, but it has 5 people.
That's right.
Most in technology and what, and they can do this work.
That's
then
right.
you'll have one that employs a lot of people. So we have the SMEs, but even those you find them classified into specifics.
Yeah.
So what is your scope of target?
Well, we are targeting, we actually have 3 categories, as I mentioned. The big ones who are like employing, you know, anywhere above 150 employees. We would call that a large organization in the Ugandan terms. Of course, by international standards, that would not be exactly large, but we are benchmarking within our country as the basis for defining who is bigger than the other. So we have the large, we have the medium, and we have the small. But we also have the young. In fact, the young are the latest entrants in these competitions, what we call the young employers. We recognize that this country is really majorly a young country by demographics. And we know that many are coming out of institutions of higher learning and are actually starting their own businesses, which is actually a good thing. But at the same time, we also recognize that they don't have enough experience, they don't have enough resources, but they can learn. Through participation, they can learn. And that's how we have been able to partner with the International Labour Organization to give money so that the young employers can participate for free.
Talking about young employers participating for free, that brings me to a short break, and I'll be joined by yet another guest from the Federation of, that is Uganda employers, who will be still discussing more on these awards, the intention, and maybe how best you can be part of them. We'll return shortly.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 25 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 65 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 165 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN. Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Welcome back from that short break. Like I earlier told you, we are now joined on set by Shafi Manafa, who happens to be the head of marketing and membership development at the Federation of Uganda Employers. You're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
I must say you're smart. I love the art here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and good morning, our viewers. It's a pleasure to be here and would be glad to talk to you about the Federation and specifically the Employee of the Year Award 2021-2022.
Well, looking at these awards, they come at a time when the economy is just fully reopening. Let's look at the impact of COVID-19 on the employers, and at such a time when we are now looking for best practices.
Yeah, indeed, that is why the focus of this particular Employee of the Year Award survey is on employer resilience after COVID-19. But we must also appreciate the fact that we have been talking about the future of work. And the future of work is actually now, because we appreciate that during COVID, employers have had to adjust in so many ways, offering flexi hours, bring forward annual leave, and so on and so forth. So we are actually seeing the future of work, where people are working remotely, and so on and so forth. So this is the time for us to identify, recognize, and rank those outstanding people management practices during COVID.
Is this only for the members or of the Federation of Uganda Employers, or even it's cross-cutting?
No, the participation in the Employee of the Year Award survey cuts across all employers, as long as an entity is employing more than 4 people. That is the basic requirement for any entity to participate. And it's quite interesting because for all these editions of Employee of the Year Award survey, we have seen companies, we have seen organizations that are not members of the Federation participating and actually performing better and winning awards. So it's not only for members of FUE, but all employers in Uganda.
Very interesting when it comes to awards, and we are looking for best practices by employers, and who will finally be ranked the best, and that is the 12th Employer of Awards. This brings me to the person who is now leading the team that is going to carry out this survey. Let me understand from you, Julius. How are you going to carry out this survey of selecting, knowing? I know there are many people out there, maybe who feel during COVID-19 they have done a great job in terms of upholding the rights of the people they employ, in terms of resilience through COVID-19.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think that talks to the core of the Air brand. Why I call it a brand, as I mentioned, it has been grown over time. And we have actually perfected how we determine who wins. And we do it very rigorously. We, as the survey team, were actually from Makerere University. So we carry that skill set of research to this exercise. And it is threefold. We take this survey through 3 processes. The first part is to give the employees as well as the supervisors, managers. So it is both the employer and the employee responding to a set of questions that we ask, which are focusing on those different areas we have identified as suitable for the theme. So that first part is largely to get a sense. How do employees feel about the policies, the practices, the initiatives that the company has adopted, as well as the managers or the supervisors who supervise them? We want to hear from both sides. We want a balanced view. But that's not enough for us. That's just stage 1, because we think that even at that stage, it is possible that a company can actually prepare and put up a show, and we get very, very flashy results. But then we have a second stage where we go to the company, we get there, we start looking at what they told us they have and try to verify them. So we have a verification exercise, ideally to see that whatever has been mentioned is actually verifiable. And for us, that is very important because it helps us to get the differentiator. How do we differentiate the best from the worst? And how do we convince everyone who has participated that, you know, the one who has won, clearly you have evidence, you have good stories to share with them, that everyone, when they listen to the profile of the winner, they really are convinced. And, you know, we are very proud that we have developed and perfected that approach. And it has become, you know, something that even other jurisdictions, other forms of other forms of employer organizations outside Uganda have actually been coming here to benchmark because they find that it is homegrown. We are not just mimicking and, you know, trying to apply what has worked elsewhere, but we are learning and developing properly. And we are sensitive to the national priorities. That's why when we come up with the theme is not determined by the consultant or the team, the survey team. It is actually a participatory exercise. We get back to all the important stakeholders. That means the people in practice, the business practice, private sector, government, and all, to agree that this is the areas that we need to look into and become the basis for recognizing best employees and employers, but also for all employers to actually focus on in improving as we move forward.
Manafra, this brings me to understanding how best does this benefit the employee, because the employer may get the reward, may get the media coverage is the best employer, maybe even get other opportunities in terms of conferences, consultations, and all this. But the employee, because there are people that actually make the others be.
Well, that's a good question. Now, as you know, the Federation is the voice of employers, and our business is to make employers in Uganda good employers. So, actually, all employers, all members of the Federation are good employers. So, when we set out to identify, rank, and recognize good HR practices, the actual beneficiary of this is the employee, is the worker in the respective companies, organizations. The main objective of the Employee of the Year Award survey is to promote self-regulation. We have the labor laws of Uganda, which all employers must adhere to. But you find that implementation of these laws, enforcement, and so on and so forth by the Ministry of Labor and other government entities is somewhat lacking. So the purpose of this survey is to promote self-regulation. Now, when we do this, when we promote this self-regulation, the actual beneficiary when a company has good practices is actually the employee. So if a company has good practices, it is the employees of that company that can benefit most, even more than the employer, more than the company. So that's how we see it.
Julius, this brings me to the issue of transparency, the issue of all-inclusiveness. Many times we've had surveys done for a certain aim, and even if they allege they were done within your area of jurisdiction, you still ask yourself, but I didn't even get to know about this. So how transparent are these, and of course, how inclusive are these, since you're heading this team that's going to carry out this?
Okay, thank you. Two things you ask, the inclusiveness of the exercise as well as the transparency. Can we depend on this exercise? Can we, trust that this exercise really is worth?
Finally give us the best.
That's
employer
right.
For us to benchmark, for research purposes, for all areas we need to benefit from this.
Yes, you are right. It's very inclusive and very, transparent in the sense that before we go into the field or before the survey team goes to work, there is what we call a technical committee. So this is like an overseer. It's a technical committee set up by the board of Federation of Uganda Employers, mainly to do the oversight of this whole exercise, to ensure that the implementation of the survey has met the expectations, but also the standards that the survey is supposed to follow. So that's one of the checkpoints for us as a survey team, but also at the end, when we have identified the potential winners, again there is another committee set up, which is by how can I call it? You know, I come from the university, so I always have examples from the university. It's a small group of people who have done it before, who have been there, they have been winners, but they are no longer participating. But they carry a lot of clout in the fraternity, the human resource fraternity, the employment fraternity, but they also know what these practices are about. So that small group, again, oversees and cross-checks whether indeed those potential winners don't have any other issues that people may actually identify. Because we don't want to get to a situation where we say this is the best employer, but they are the ones exploiting their workers, their complaints about how they treat workers and so on. And in this pandemic, this particular time, it's even very important because the way of work has changed and how employees and employers are relating with their workplaces have changed. So there are a lot of gray areas there. So that's why it's important to have all these checks. Because all of us have not been in this situation before, so we can't let it to chance.
Manafa, when we talk about the Federation of Uganda Employers, we know COVID-19 really hit the economy. And many of the people that had problems or big challenges were the employers because they had to pay salaries. Some of them came up with resilience mechanisms but were encroaching on their profits. On their profits, some even had to close down. As a federation, apart from these awards, which are a motivator, definitely, and of course the winner who gets an award goes home with something, what measures have you put in place to ensure you help them rejuvenate or expedite the recovery process?
Now we are doing quite a lot in that area because our services are categorized into three things. The first is policy advocacy, lobbying, representing employers on all boards, NSS, and so on and so forth. We normally go to Parliament before committees to substantiate, to clarify our positions and so on and so forth. Then the second work stream is employment relations and legal services, where we advise employers on a day-to-day basis, on a daily basis about how to follow the law, how to follow due process and so on and so forth. Then the third is business support services. Now, under business support, specifically on COVID, we are helping employers on a day-to-day basis on how to re-engage, how to reassess businesses, and all this is under what we call the business continuity plan. And we deploy a number of consultants to help employers, to help companies go through an assessment of their business, how they have been affected, and the things that they could do, even including basic things that they can do to actually change the business. And this has helped so many employers who are giving us feedback. But we are also there to listen to these employers. We have two models. One is ERIC and there is VOCA. Now ERIC is mostly for small and medium-sized enterprises, and this is an abbreviation of eliminate, reduce, increase, and create. So depending on what kind of business you are, there are some basic that you can actually do. What can I, as a business, you look at what you can create to take your business to the next level, what you need to increase what you need to eliminate, some of those costs and so on and so forth. So it's a basic business model, but that can help a lot. It could be things like reducing on the amount of reducing the number of bulbs that you use to save power. It could be reducing the amount of water that you use in your company. It might be looking at reducing some of the business processes, and those will give you efficiency. And then on the higher end, we're also encouraging employers to look at issues of vulnerability, things that put your business that make your business vulnerable. Pay attention to issues of uncertainty in business, and then be more creative so that you actually swim off this tide. So this is how we're helping companies on a day-to-day basis. We don't only focus on the issues of labor and employment relations, but we are supporting companies with business continuity plans.
Well, thank you for that. Now the employers know that the Federation has you at heart at such a time that you're going through the recovery process. For many that made it through, and of course for those that sank and their members, still Manafa has been able to throw more light. Julius, at what stage are these awards now? Because we know awards have stages to the final. So where are we now?
Well, we are actually at the very beginning, and that's why it is very opportune for us to be talking about it this morning, because it's, tomorrow morning we shall actually have the launch. So we are on the eve of the launch. What do we mean by launch? Launch is when we put it out there that this year's edition is now on, and we are going to start the exercise. It's a very intensive exercise that runs for not less than 6 months, but we are going to find a way. Now that COVID has taught us a bit of how to cut on time when you apply technology and remote skills, we should be able to do it in less than the normal time we have been doing it. It is expected that the awards will be awarded at the end of May. Specifically, I think that will be 20th May. So we launch tomorrow at Golf Course Hotel, and then thereafter, everyone will be expected to be available or ready for us to walk in there as a survey team, and then take up the exercise. So we are at the eve.
Very interesting. The launch, after the launch, then now you just wait to see how best you can be participating in this. Manafa, still going back to issues regarding employers in this country. We've seen a number of laws coming in. Recently, we saw amendments in the NSSF Act that was passed where it is now mandatory. It even has punishments. But sometimes we find that many of these employers at times seem ignorant of these. And when the law tries to take its course, it says, but I began my own business. I'm employing the people. So as a federation, what are you doing to ensure that we have rights of the employees upheld, but also the employers are knowledgeable?
You see, every good employer in this country is a member of the Federation of Ugandan Employers, and that is the difference. So our business is to make
every good. What is your yardstick for every good?
Yes, that's what I was going to break down. Our business is to make employers of this country become good employers. Good employers by offering decent work to their employees. Of course, the yardstick for measuring decent work by ILO standards is basically 4 things. 1, an opportunity for employment. What we call social dialogue. You have an opportunity to talk back and say, okay, negotiate economics. That is social dialogue. And then social protection, things like NSSF, pension, having food at work, medical and all that. And then lastly, what we call rights at work. Now, those 4 things are the hallmark of decent work by ILO standards. Now, when you become a member of FUE, we make you a good employer by following those 4 benchmarks. And even for those employers out there who are not yet our members, we go out on a daily basis to talk to them about becoming members of the Federation, sensitizing them, and helping them on how to be good employers, to follow the laws, and so on and so forth. Now, for our members, we do a number of sensitization activities. We do a number of trainings. We do a lot of advisory on how to follow the law, on how best to offer their employees good contracts and good deals, if I may, at the workplace, if I may use that word. So that is actually our business. That is our core business as an organization. That is why we come up with initiatives that even promote self-regulation, where government is not coming to see, or police is not coming to check on how you're doing your business, how you're treating your workers. We promote self-regulation. We promote decent work. We want to see that every employer in this country is a good employer. We want to see that every worker in this country is benefiting from a good, decent work deal from an employer.
Well, decent working environment, benefiting, that is from the laws that are in place. Federation of Uganda Employers is one of their objectives that they are carrying out. Well, Julius, we know there is excitement, because every time we have awards, there is excitement.
Yeah.
And you've said that this does not only deal with those that are members in this federation, but even those that are not. Yeah. So those that are not, how do they get involved?
Well, thank you very much, and that's why actually, as Shafi was mentioning, that we don't just end at the awards, and then we end it there. We have a lot of other follow-up activities. And I think the members and the general public should know that this time around, what we are doing is that the awards is halfway the whole exercise, which will come in May, as I mentioned. But between May up to the end of there are a number of other activities that we are going to engage in, up to finally having a discussion at the Presidential CEO Forum. You know, what has been happening in earlier editions has been that once we carry out this survey, we award that big event of awarding everybody, then we have some feedback sessions for the next 2-3 weeks. But now we are saying that no, we need what is coming from these surveys to be picked up by all those who actually matter, up to the very top of decision making, not only top of decision making in the workplaces themselves, but also nationally. That's why we are saying that let's put this conversation of what has come from these surveys to the discussion occasioned by the president himself. And so we hope that this will even have the president is here. And in terms of those who are not members, we have encouraged and we have said that participation is going to be free for all, not only those who are members of FUE, but for all. And it is a good thing, because as I've mentioned, the aim and the final focus of this is we want to see that every organization is good on 3 elements. Is good on people practices. Those who are for profit, they are good on profit, and there is a balance. And then, most importantly, they are good on what we call planet, sustainability. Whatever the organization, whatever the employer is doing, how is it going to leave this environment? How can we be sure that the future of those to come after us will still be secured? This is what this whole exercise is about. What in the Luzungu of today we call the 3 Ps: people, profit, and planet. Balanced, none being more dominant than the other. That way we know that I think we will be securing the future.
Indeed, the 3 Ps is what they will be looking out for, and of course this will not only help us benchmark, but also appreciate, and maybe others can follow these good practices. Well, in the interest of time, Julius, let me have your final remarks, please.
Okay. So my final remarks is really a call to all employers out there. to take interest. It's a very exciting time that there are some other, kind of awards that are there, but this one is all embracing. It is all inclusive, and it is really nationally focused, and it focuses on national priorities. At a time like this, you want to be part of an exercise that cares about how do you go through uncertain times that are back and forth. This is the best time to participate in AIR.
Best time to participate in AIR. Now let me have the man from the Federation of Uganda Employers give us his final shot to the awards, but also to the employers there and maybe the employees.
Yes, thank you. Mine is basically a call also to invite all, especially HR practitioners in this country, to come and be with us at the launch tomorrow morning. We shall be launching, it will be hybrid. It's both physical and virtual. So we'll have a selected number of people at the Golf Course Hotel, but we'll also encourage massive participation online. We have, you just reach out to us, we shall share with you the link on how to log in to participate virtually at the launch. But we also like to use this opportunity to rally all employers out there to join the federation so that we can make you good employers indeed.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. That is Kikoma Julius, who happens to be a researcher and associate professor, the Department of Physical, and our deputy principal, that is a College of Humanities at Makerere University. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
Julius. And of course, that is Manafa Shafik, who happens to be, that is head of marketing and membership development at the Federation of Uganda Employers. Thank you so much for your time. All we hope is may the best win. And also let this not only be awards, but let's do some benchmarking on best practices of employing people, but more so looking at resiliency lessons from the winners that have enabled them move through. Who knows, maybe at one time we shall go back to the previous situation where we are, and employers have to just look back and know how best to go through that. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the world of sports. Good morning.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily band of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 25 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 65 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 165 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN. Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.